So in 15 to 30, Arjuna described the universal form. Until verses 20, he said, what is this? What is he seeing in the universal form? And we saw what was the effect of the universal form on him in verses 23, 24, and 25. Then Arjuna was seeing that Kala Rupa, the time form of Krishna, between verses 26 and 30. And what is the effect of it? Arjuna is bewildered, asking question, who are you, in verse 31? And Krishna explaining him that he is time in verse 32. And in 33, he says, become my instrument. And then now Arjuna is glorifying, which is what we are going to see today, verses 35 to 46, where Arjuna will glorify Krishna, will offer obeisances, will seek forgiveness, and also has some request that we will see from 46 onwards. Before we begin, anybody had any thoughts, questions entering into the section from the last week or in general?
I don't know what I had, but I was thinking about how I kept reading the purport and it took me through almost till the end of the chapter to get through my thick head because Prabhupada kept saying the universal form is temporary and material. And I just kept thinking, what is that? Like, how is that different? And I wasn't listening to the words he was saying, but it was curious how that universal form was a temporary manifestation and material. So I understand it's temporary, right? It's not something that what does that mean? Does that mean that it's not something that he brings about periodically? It's just something that is only shown when necessary. And I'm questioning here.
Yeah, I understand.
And material, why is it material? Like, I don't why does he say it's a material form?
Thank you. It's a very, I would say, important point to be clarified. What do we mean when we say the universal form is temporary and material? Because it seems Krishna needs to give special divine vision to Arjuna in order to behold that. So then how is it material and temporary? The understanding that many people have about God is, one level of understanding is this universe is just God. Because this is the gross manifestation that I'm able to see, and which is so wondrous and much more, in a way, unlimited compared to my existence. So the universe itself is seen as God by some people. And the next level is that, like how we all see the gross body as ourselves. Similarly, we try to see the gross universe as the God. And we also tend to see our subtle body as sometimes us, like our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our identities as we. Who am I? I'm Indian, I'm American. So these are identities. So it's very subtler. It's a conception. Similarly, people also have a subtler conception of God himself, because they cannot understand or fathom that God can have his personal form. Like recently, I was speaking to a boy from Hong Kong, Jansen Chu. So he was like asking about devotionals, bhakti yoga, and everything. And then in the flow of the discussion, he looked at all the paintings in the temple room, and then he asked, who's this blue boy who's common in all of these paintings? Who's this blue boy? So we were speaking about Supreme Divine and Krishna and all of that. And then I told him, that's Krishna actually. And then he asked, why is he having a blue color? What's the significance of blue? I said, to be very honest, he just likes, there is no logical explanation to it. He wants to be blue in color. That's pretty much it, actually, to be honest. And he was like, wow, he wasn't like kind of irritated with that answer or anything. He was just like, wow, that makes sense. God has independence, so he can choose to how he want to be. And it is very wondrous for people to understand that God could be that small boy, blue in color, wearing a peacock feather, playing on a flute. So it's a little bit very far removed from the general understanding of God. So a lot of people would like to see a subtle form of the universe as the God, like how God is so unlimited that everything is in him and he is so wondrous in a subtle way, not just in a physical way. They would like to see God or assume God as that wondrous person who's so beyond life, bigger than their own existence. And they find having a small little form of Krishna stealing butter as that does not add to their understanding of God. So that is why this Krishna manifests this form, which is not actually real, which is not true. God is not in that form, because the material manifestation is temporary. The world is manifested and unmanifested at certain times. So if we think God's form is this big, universal, subtle manifestation, which is so wondrous and space oriented, unlimited in space and time, and all these things, then we are ascribing a temporary form. So that's why there is no such form actually exists. It's a vision that was given, that how everything is, the how God is all pervasive, even within the material manifestation. So it is sometimes manifested for the vision. That is why it is considered temporary. And also, because it is related to the material universe, which is temporary, manifested at some time and unmanifested at some time, it is also considered as temporary. And why is it considered material? Because not everything subtle is spiritual. A lot of times, mystic understanding, people think, oh, this is great when something is subtle. I had the people take chemical induced visions and they think that's very spiritual. That's just like subtle. I can dream. It doesn't mean it's spiritual, it's subtle. So, similarly, this form is subtle. Just because our eyes could not ordinarily see, and it's a subtle form of the manifestation of the universe, all pervasiveness of the universe, of God in the universe, does not mean it necessarily is spiritual. Because it is related to the material universe, that all pervasiveness is also considered to be actually a material aspect of the divine. Do you think, in Madharendra, we addressed your thoughts?
Yes, you did. You said the material manifestation is temporary. No such universal form actually exists. It's a vision given, and then I lost you because I was trying to listen and then write at the same time.
Yeah, a vision which is given to actually bring out that point that how God is all pervasive. There is, like, in the list of incarnations, we don't see Virat Rupa or universal form. We see Shakti Avesh avatars, Manvantara avatars, Yuga avatars, Leela avatars, Purusha avatars, but we never see universal form as in the list of incarnations, because it's not the spiritual form which is permanently having a place in the spiritual world.
Okay, got it. Now, I'll have to listen to this recording again, but yes, I get how do you explain the non-existence of time in the spiritual world?
The non-existence of time, in the sense, time exists, but it is like, what do you call, here time moves everything. In the move in that wheel of past, present, and future, time moves everything. Like, after an hour we won't be here speaking about this chapter together. Time, like, we are together, it is real, but it gets changed with the influence of time. So we are under the control of time. But in the spiritual world, even though time exists there, because it is just facilitating Krishna's pastimes. When Krishna wants to experience a certain way, then the day may manifest in a certain way. But he is not being forced. It's not that if he wants, he can halt and just expand the pastime in the night forever. Only when he wants, the day will manifest. So time exists, but not in a way of controlling and running the show of the spiritual world. Krishna runs the show in the spiritual world. It is his will and desire that runs.
That's great. Thank you so much.
So I do. Yes, Purva.
Prabhuji, about Krishna's blue color that you said, it's also curious to know that there are very few things in nature that are originally blue in color, isn't it? Like we have the sky, and we can see that sky is blue, but that's only because we associate with pleasant. And when the sky is very pleasant, it's blue, but the sky has so many other colors as well. And then we have blue flowers, but then they're not very common. They're not as common as yellow or red or orange flowers, isn't it? So it's curious to know that on one hand, blue is so rare in nature, and on the other hand, that is the precise color of Krishna.
These are, like, I agree. We can like revel in that rarity of Krishna and appreciate how he is. But the question was, like, why is he blue? For that,
He's blue because it's unique, isn't it?
he
It's
is
a
unique.
unique
Yeah,
color.
that's, and in the sense that's again wanting to be his desire. Basically, at the core of the issue is he. What if he tomorrow wants to be like red? Yeah, it is primarily his wish. But I do agree with your thoughts that yes, blue is very rare and it's unique and it's very attractive. That's why, like, in Apple, they keep the text messages in blue, because it's considered like more keeps your attention. They
To
want you to
remind
text
us of
more. That's very spiritual, Purva. Probably they are not thinking like that. They want you to look at the apple, the forbidden apple. Yes, Krishna Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
So
Krishna.
maybe we'll get to this, but if we often hear that the name or the sound of the Lord's name, Hare Krishna, is spiritual, and here is a form that Krishna has personally created to explain something to, and it is material because it's temporary and it's not spiritual. Now, there must have been a purpose. Maybe you'll get to this in this class. There must have been a purpose for the form and what the Lord wanted to achieve by showing the form. And maybe you can help us. Maybe it'll come in today's class, but I just
Yes.
thought I'll ask the question.
No, that's a very nice question. So surely I think we are covering it in the future verses, but do remind me if I'm not emphasizing it from that perspective.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah. So getting into this flow of verses today between verses 35 and 45, where Arjuna is going to offer prayers. Some of these are his expressions, not just prayers in the sense of glorifying Krishna. Some of his. So I'm just trying to refer along with the book because I have just really summarized them in single line. So if you have a book, either a soft or a hard copy, please have it by your side and look at the verses because more emotions will be captured in the actual translation. I've just summarized it for not to overwhelm to look at the slide. So here we see that in the verse 35, actually it is Sanjaya telling Dhritarashtra that how Arjuna had this wonderful vision and he was trembling and he was fearful and he was speaking as follows. So Arjuna was bowing down before Krishna and he did in a faltering voice was speaking to offering his prayers to Krishna. So actually from verse 36, Arjuna is going to speak. Arjuna says that, "O master of the senses," Hrishikesh says that you bring joy to devotees and fear to demons. Thus everyone becomes attached to you. Like he says, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name. And thus everyone becomes attached to you. However, the demons become very afraid and they flee here and there. And all this is rightly done. And I see it all here. And he says, you are even greater than Brahma. You are the original creator. And then why people should not offer obeisances to you? Because you are the cause of all causes. You are the supreme source of the creation. And he is continuing to glorify Krishna as the supreme person, Adi Devaha, the supreme God, original God. And Purusha Puranas means the oldest, the ultimate resort for all the manifested cosmic world, the ultimate support. And also how he is the knower of everything. So in this way, he is glorifying Krishna, that how he is all pervading in the cosmic manifestation. And then he says how Krishna is the all pervasiveness through his all pervasiveness, because he is all pervasive. He is also the air, he is also the fire, he is also the water, he is also the moon. Nothing wrong in saying that. And is the supreme controller of everything. So you are Brahman, so you are the great grandfather. So in this way, I offer my obeisances again and again 1,000 times and more. And then he says, I offer obeisances to you from the front, from the behind, from all sides, because it's an all-pervasive form in terms of space. So he does not know where to offer obeisances, from the front, from the behind, from the sides. So he's saying, I offer obeisances on all sides because you are actually limitless. So you are all-pervading. So it's very difficult to offer obeisances to an all-pervasive form, because usually you come into the deity room, you offer obeisances, keeping yourself towards the left to the deities. So you can easily offer because the deity is before you. But that form, which is all pervasive in all directions, so he's offering obeisance and waking up and seeing the Lord is also in this direction. So he's offering obeisances in all the directions. And Krishna is also having fun, seeing how Arjuna is bewildered. Sometimes, like a child asks, "Oh, you're baking a cake," and then the child says, "No, as soon as you take out," the child says, "I want the cake now. I want the cake now. I want the cake now." You're like, it's very hot. Please hold on for a moment. He says, no, then it throws tantrums. I want it now. I want it now. Then what you see, you cut a small piece and then keep it in its, like you are holding it, but you still touch the hand of the child. He said, no, it's hot. No, just have it. Continue to have it. So you're just like continuing to keep in the child. And the child is saying, no, it's hotter. So that's what I was telling you. The same thing Arjuna is going to do here. he was so interested in, I want to see the universal form. I want to see the universal form. Krishna is like, I showed it to you. So we will see that Krishna will actually play around with Arjuna in the 46 onwards in those verses. And now Krishna, like Arjuna, he suddenly realizes how great is Krishna. So he actually regrets, oh my God, I was just calling you, hey Krishna, hey Adava, and oh my friend, and we would lie in the same bed, and like you, I was joking many times with you. We were relaxing, laying on the same bed. We sat and ate together, sometimes alone, sometimes in front of my friends. I would just belittle you as a friend, as a cousin. I would say, oh, you're always like this, or something like that. I would just like casually speak to you, sometimes in private, sometimes even before everybody else. But now I do understand you are the most infallible one. Please excuse me for all those offenses. He's finally realizing how great Krishna is. And then he's saying, you are the Supreme Lord to be worshipped by everyone. You are the Father, Master, and the greatest being. And please tolerate the wrongs I may have done to you, actually. Please don't take them very seriously. And so he is also saying that how I humbly seek forgiveness. And he's saying, when a father actually, when a child does some mistake, the father or a friend or a husband, they don't take actually offense, take offense. So similarly, you are the Supreme Father, you are the Supreme Friend, you are the ultimate beloved of everybody. So in this way, please tolerate the wrongs that I may have done towards you. So in this way, he humbly seeks forgiveness, and then he is completely awed by the universal form. And he says, after seeing this form, I have never seen anything before. I'm very glad, but at the same time, my mind is very disturbed with fear. Okay, if you're glad, then why is your mind disturbed with fear? I really like it. Like sometimes someone wants a cake or something, and then you give, the taste does not match. So then they're like, the looks were great, so, but the taste is, this is so good. But I think, and then you ask, do you want one more piece? They're like, no, this is great, but I'm good. I'm just like, okay, I'm fine. So similarly, he's okay. I had this taste of the universal form. It's fine. It's enough. Take it away. So he said, at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. So therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the Supreme Lord, oh Krishna. Yes, Purva.
Prabhuji, I have a question from the purport of verse 36, the
Mhm.
last line of the purport, where it says that everything that Krishna does is for the good of his devotee. Yes. So my question is, how do we put this into practice on days where everything or majority of the things go wrong for no apparent fault of ours? And how do we not feel utterly hopeless in that case? Especially, imagine this is the first question.
Yeah, the world, most of the times when everything is going according to our plan, we do get this illusion that we are in control. So when those days we can actually understand how we are not in control. And also, that is when you actually zoom out. That is the advantage of knowing philosophy, that a devotee can actually zoom in and zoom out very smoothly. Some of these cameras, they have this option. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. But when they zoom in and zoom out, they're like, they have this jump. But in terms of in real life, a devotee can zoom in and zoom out very smoothly. That when you're endeavoring to do something, you do as if everything is under your control. You put all your effort, you think about it, you thoroughly do it. At the same time, in the corner of your heart, you also know it is all ultimately Krishna's mercy. So when things don't go according to your thing, you can actually smoothly zoom out and see life from a bigger perspective. How I'm the spirit's soul. There is no gain or loss that I have in this world. Externally, I may feel so attached to certain way that I want life to go, that I may feel I have lost things and it's unbearable. But on a very high level, there's nothing we can gain or lose in this world. In general, simple day-to-day things, when things don't go according to us, we can remember like how not everything is under our control. And sometimes we don't do things well. That is also another reason they don't turn out to. Like sometimes I may think, oh, it's only so close by the railway station. The train is, I can just catch this train in 15 minutes because I just live 2 minutes from the thing. And then I realized, no, I could have just sitting here and wasting time. I could have just walked out, and before 5 minutes, I would have actually got this train. Because there are so many things which we don't expect. So sometimes it's because of our own lack of, though we have all the things planned, we don't really foresee or we don't control everything. So things go out of our control. So we can learn some things, how we can better our approach. At the same time, despite all our best efforts, if there are things which are beyond our control, sit back, watch the show, and relax. That way, you will be like, at least as we grow older, we need to actually detach and sit back and watch the show, because anyway, you have no control. So that way, you will have actually more wisdom, and you know when is the right time to actually act, when to give that gap and break, so that when you actually come back, it's more graceful in life.
All right, that was a very nice explanation. But however, when things go wrong and then the results are not up to the mark, how do we offer the fruits of these works to Krishna?
We have no
Because
other
it's not.
option either.
Did
You
you
tried
say?
your best. Like, we have
Yes.
no other option than to offer it to Krishna. We can hold on to anything. It's a gradual consciousness that we develop. Still, like, whatever comes, when you see good and bad as Krishna's mercy, so then you ascribe everything to him. You don't blame him. At the same time, you're like, say, for example, you tried your best to bake a cake and it could be a little better, but what do? Are you going to eat it without offering? You can still say, I tried my best, I'll improve. So this is the best I've got today. Please have it. So it's the same way in life.
Okay. Thank you. I'll try doing this.
Means it's not easy, I'm telling you, but I'm not sure how much I practice that. It's a gradual thing for me also, that how we take good and bad as Krishna's mercy. Sometimes when we are in the middle of the situations, it's really frustrating. We tend to blame others, we tend to blame ourselves. It's more often than not, we try to blame others, the situations, and ourselves also. We think, I'm so useless, I'm so bad, I'm like, all of these things comes into our mind. However, with repeated experience, we also tend to slow down and pause and wait before judging or passing on, blaming others. Life itself is tough. Many things it's not others want us to suffer or spoil our plans. Just the way the material life is designed is like, it brings about unnecessary problems without seeking them.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So in this way, that Arjuna has seen all these forms, and he's expressing and finally realizing how great Krishna is, and he begs forgiveness, and he wants this form to be taken back and wants to see Krishna's original form. So then somebody may ask, now Sanjay is speaking to Dhritarashtra, but Dhritarashtra also had the vision of a universal form. So we do see Arjuna is transforming at the end of this chapter. We may see, hey, why not Dhritarashtra not surrender after seeing the universal form? We see exactly what Arjuna is doing was the opposite that Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana all did, especially Dhritarashtra. He also had this opportunity to see in a certain different version of the universal form. You say, like we say, version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Arjuna is having like the latest edition of the universal form. They all had different editions, different versions. So the reason that Dhritarashtra could not surrender was that the knowledge that the revelation that Krishna gave came like a lightning for him. That it did have its light, but it was more like a lightning, because immediately after that, his own attachment to Duryodhana acted like that blinding cloud, which completely brought back the darkness again. There was a brief illumination. Oh, how great Krishna is. I really want to see. Everybody in the courtroom is seeing. I'm blind. I'm not able to see. So Krishna actually revealed a special way for him to see, despite not having physical eyes, despite being blind. But that brief illumination did not change his heart, because his heart was covered with attachment to his son. So that is why even when Krishna is present, depending on the attachment that we have in our heart, that presence can be like a light or a lightning. So because of Dhritarashtra's attachment, it was just like a lightning, brief experience, and then was covered by darkness of his attachment. Yes, Purva.
Prabhuji, but if Krishna's mercy is the greatest thing ever, then how can it not change someone's heart as a stone's heart, like of Dhritarashtra? Because isn't Krishna's grace? I can't
Yeah.
find the adjective.
Again,
Bigger
the same
than
answer as the
Maya.
free will. Mercy is there, but mercy, if it can change others' free will, then love is not like that, right? You're not casting a spell to make that person love. So Krishna is not going to influence us to like actually love him. He would rather prefer that we love him for who he is. So love is
But
voluntary.
if someone has shown, if Krishna has shown his grandeur, like how he showed Arjuna, then anyone would fall at his feet, isn't it?
But still, Duryodhana did, so Dhritarashtra did not. That's what we are discussing.
Yes, but how
Exactly.
can Maya be? So that would mean that here Maya has won, not Krishna. But how can that be?
No, say for example, if I pick up a coin and keep it close to my eyes, even sun will get covered. So the
Yes.
cloud of ignorance is covering our eyes. It's not covering Krishna. So the cloud is covering us from the sun. It's not covering sun itself. So we all have a personal eye mask as the ignorance. It covers us, not Krishna himself. So again, this question that if God is unlimited, why are you limiting God by depicting him in a limited form? So it's not like exactly from the verses Arjuna is discussing this, but this is a theme we could discuss in this particular section, because like people would say, wow, this universal form is very resonating to me because I see God as unlimited. Why do you guys often limit him by depicting him in small forms, as a child, as a boy, and all of these things? So the understanding is, I wanted to make it into separate slides. I think I put it in one slide. So the people think that form limits God. So that saying God cannot manifest it in a limited form is actually a limitation. When you say God is unlimited and you say that God cannot have a limited form, so that's where you're actually making God limited by saying there is something that he cannot do, in that he cannot manifest in a certain way. So true unlimited means transcending both our understanding of limitedness and unlimitedness. And that is why here this analogy of a tall person can be very helpful. So if you see there is a tall person, and because they're so tall, you just invite them to a loft or something, they're just going to be like, always have to be very careful, like always bending and then passing through. Especially I've seen in India, the average height is low. So I've had friends who are like very taller than the usual heights. They would have a very tough time. All day they would have to watch their head. Otherwise, they will hit on a door entrance, on a loft or something. They will keep hitting. I have a cousin who's so tall, like he's 6'5", and he has a very tough time, like entering through the doorways. He always have to be very careful. So, and this person is stuck with their tallness. But God is not like that. He is unlimited. But if there is a reason for him, actually, if he needs to take a form, which he needs to be actually a smaller form, he has that complete freedom. He is not the way that we assume what is unlimited. And the other thing is like that God's form is chosen for love. So he can manifest any different form according to to facilitate loving relationships. He's not bound by the physical constraints of what we think as unlimited in terms of space. He has his divine will to manifest as a small baby, as even a boar, as a tortoise, as a half lion, half human, as a green bodied, as a blue bodied, a yellow bodied, white bodied, like dark blue bodied, black bodied, all kinds of things. He's not constrained by any physical dimension. And here, that's what we exactly see in this section, that Krishna is dealing with Arjuna as a charioteer, as like another cousin. So we may think, oh, that's just a limited form. But from that limited form, he shows an universal form which is unlimited. So that that immediate manifestation of as Krishna in his two-hand form wasn't limiting him in showing his ability to display an unlimited universal form. He still retained his infiniteness. And whenever it was requested, he again withdraws it. And he shows a four-handed form. Then he reverts to the two-handed form. So he has all this ability. He's not, what do you call, like limited. So the key takeaway is, we think unless of God is just in space, in size. But we forget that unlimitedness also includes in power, that he is omnipotent, that he can actually be that unlimited in space and be that limited in space also. So the omnipotent and what do you call, all pervasive. We can confuse that unlimitedness as just in size and not in power. He is unlimited in power. That's why he is omnipotent. That omnipotence allows him to appear and disappear in various forms effortlessly. So hope it addresses the question that how God is unlimited, still we can depict him. He can actually assume limited forms and it's not limiting him. So if you want to summarize it in an acronym, these days I'm into acronyms. So the form, so he's free to manifest in any form. He is omnipotence. can overcome all constraints, and relationships actually drive his manifestation. So that is another reason he can come in any form that his devotees would like to relate to with him, and he can manifest and withdraw at will any form, be it that huge in size or minute in size. So again, summarizing this section in certain quotes. So time, as Krishna, moves without resistance, shaping destiny beyond human control. So we can just control time. It moves beyond our resistance, shaping our destiny and human control. But that does not mean we have to worry, because for those who are attached to this temporary, then time is terror. We lament, oh, life is slipping away. But actually, when we are surrendered, time is just transition. We are going closer towards Krishna, robbed of our life. We are rather being taken towards eternal life. For someone who is attached to the temporary, time is terror. For those who surrender, time is transition. It's bringing them closer to Krishna. So it's exciting. Olga, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was thinking, first Arjuna goes and apologizes to Krishna, sorry for treating you like a person, and then he says, let me see your four-armed form. Where has Arjuna seen four-armed people before? How does he come to know that Krishna has that form as well?
Because in the scriptures, there are description of the Vishnu form. It is a very common understanding. So Arjuna does know all the Vedic scriptures in that sense. So he does know that Vishnu has 400 forms.
So he like has
And
the
there is a
presence of
faint
mind.
and
Sorry.
he does have the presence of mind. Yeah, the intelligence is not fully bewildered in that sense. Yeah, he does have his like awareness in that sense that God does have this 400 form.
Okay, because I wasn't expecting him to connect it. So you're God, that means you have all these other forms of God, but I
Yeah.
guess he can. Okay, thank you.
Because he did see some of those manifestations within that universal form also. Makes sense? So the lessons that we can see, probably we already discussed. So the inevitability of time that we just saw, that how it moves, it forces our destiny. And surrender also transforms fear into clarity. Because without surrender to Krishna, the time can be very confusing. Life can be very confusing, why things happen in a certain way. So surrender to Krishna can transform fear into clarity, as we have that faith that Krishna alone guides one beyond any of these material destructions. We are beyond all these material gain and loss. However, to get that clarity, to feel very sheltered and satisfied despite external good and bad, surrender is very important. That helps us transform the fear into clarity. That's one thing we see here. Arjuna was very bewildered, but because he was surrendered, he had that support from Krishna. Yes, Purva.
I have a doubt from the purport of verse 44,
Okay.
where the rasas are mentioned in which we can serve Krishna. So, how and when can we know in which relationship do we serve Krishna?
So the servant of relationship, the relationship of servant is very common to all the rasas. So it's not just as someone who is in a higher rasa in terms of sakhya or vatsalya or madhurya. It's not that they don't have this attitude of service. That is the common attitude. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that is a common point for us to start. He said, Naham vipro na cha narapatir, na api vaishyo na shudro, naham varni na cha grahapatir, na vanasto yatirva, kintu prodyan nikhila paramananda purnamrutabder gopi bhartuhu padakamalayur dasa dasanu dasa. So the servant of these devotees is in general the attitude of a practicing sadhaka. So as we practice more, gradually the flavors of it will become more and more revealed. Like when the consciousness is considered compared to a bud. So as it opens, you'll be able to see what are the colors inside, what is the fragrance of this particular flower, what is the texture, what is the shape. As it blooms, it becomes much more clear. So in the budding stage, it's very difficult. So each of us are a unique bud. Our consciousness is unique. Though it's all Sachidananda, still we all have a unique consciousness, unique relationship. It's like a bud. As we water with the devotion, as the bud opens, gradually it will be revealed. And the more and more you have information, the more and more you will work on it, and more things will be revealed.
Okay, thank you.
But the safe way to start is that I'm a servant of Krishna.
Yes.
So the reflection question, which can be, pertaining to this particular section is, am I resisting the flow of time and things which are beyond my control. That's what we call as destiny. We are not speaking about giving up everything to destiny and relaxing, thinking whatever happens is I have to accept it. No, we can always make changes. But despite all our effort, if something happens or something which is unexpected happens, then are we resisting the flow of that time or destiny, or surrendering to Krishna with Krishna's guidance with trust? Because that is very important to develop in life gradually. And for that, you need to associate with people who have that level of surrender. Without that, it is very difficult. We cannot just directly connect with Krishna on that level. So we need to connect with devotees and observe their surrender. That will inspire us gradually to develop it. So it's a very important quality that we can learn from Arjuna in this section. It's no point in resisting the flow of time and things beyond our control. If we can gracefully understand Krishna's grace, then we'll be much more.
Frozen for me or for everyone?
For everyone.
For you guys?
Voice wasn't coming clearly, but I think it's recovered now.
Okay, there's some amount of lag in. I'm not sure if it's the laptop or if it's the internet. Probably the laptop. I would have to restart it. Me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I hope you can see the screen also.
Yes.
And what is the time? I don't want to lose track. Okay, 10 minutes. I have another class to go. So this is Arjuna's request. Let me come back. Okay, this is verses 46 to 55. I think we came up beyond the particular slide that I was supposed to look at. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Sorry. Yeah, this is the slide I wanted. So here is the verses 46 to 55, where Arjuna is going to request for the 400 form, the 200 form, and Krishna will reveal it. So Arjuna's request in verse 46, and then Krishna's revelation of his 4-armed and 2-armed forms between verses 47 and 51. And then Krishna speaking about the rarity of the 2-armed form in verses 52 and 53. And then emphasizing that how devotion as the only means is the only means to actually see him in verses 54 and 55, concluding that. There's a lot of details, really amazing section, a lot of insights about Gita's purpose and what Krishna Prabhu asked, what is the purpose of showing the universal form, how it's not related to violence, how it's related to inspiring devotion, and all of that. There's a lot of subtleties in this section. Let's see what we can do in the next 15-20 minutes. So after expressing his prayers, and he started his request in verse 45, and he makes it very clear and emphatic by repeating it in verse 46. He says, "Oh, 1,000-armed Lord." Oh, you have Sahasrabaho, you have 1,000 arms. I'm not able to, like, it's no point in having 1,000 arms. I'm not able to relate with you. I wish to see you in your 4-armed form. Let's get back to some, like, 1,000 arms is too much. 4 arms is probably not that many. So let's go from 1,000 arms to 4 arms. It's getting too much. And he says, please show me that form with the club and the wheel and the conch and lotus flower in your hands. So I long to see you in that form. So he's okay, let's dial down. And then if you see, Krishna is just not, he could have just said, okay, and he could have just transformed the vision. But verses 47, 48, 49, he keeps saying, I'm going to show you that, I'm going to show you that, and continues to show this horrifying form. It's more like teasing him. Like, oh, you really wanted to see. And then sometimes you see, you're like holding a balloon and the child wants it. You're saying, yes, I'm going to give you, and I'm going to give you. And still you're like, doing this. Yeah, I'm giving you. So same way Krishna is going to say, yes, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you. And continues to show that horrible form. Not horrible in the sense of frightening form. So if you read the verses 47, 48, 49, with this kind of a mood, you can see Krishna is trying to play around with Arjuna. He says, yes, Arjuna, happily have I shown you my internal potency. I have very happily shown you. You might be bewildered. And this supreme universal form within this material world, no one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited, full of glaring effulgence. He's saying, oh, you're saying this form is frightening? Nobody has seen. I'm showing you something very special. Saying, if you see it from a teasing mood, I've shown you something special. You're saying, like, you want to take this back? No one before you has ever seen this universal form, neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing austerity, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen this form in the material world. So I have shown you because you are my devotee and you don't want to see it more. So you're so special. That's why I've shown you and you don't want to see it. Okay, you have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible form of mine. Okay, let it be finished. You're not interested. I just showed you something very special. You're not interested. Okay, let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbance. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. So then he says, then again we see Sanjay as intervening and saying to Dhritarashtra that how the Supreme Lord Krishna, having spoken to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form. In verse 50, he's saying that. And at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. The description of seeing the four-armed form is not coming either from Arjuna or from Krishna saying what is he seeing in that four-armed form. Rather, it is Sanjaya who is summarizing it. He displayed his real four-armed form. It is not that imaginary thousand-armed form. This is a spiritual four-armed form. This is real. So it's being clarified. This is also not imaginary. These forms are not imaginary like how the universal form. This is actually real. That's why the word real is swakam, means his own rupa. Swakam rupam darshayamasa bhuyaha. That's why Prabhupada also translates, displayed his real four-armed form. Yes, Sundaranand.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So there is always this discussion whether Vishnu, Krishna, who is supreme in this. What does Krishna mean when he says exactly this real forearm?
Yes, real in the sense of being spiritual. And we will see, I'm going to take that question. What is better, four-armed or two-formed or a thousand-armed? The number of arms decide who's greater, who's supreme. So we are going to discuss that in a few slides actually again.
Thank you.
So the verse 50 that Sanjay is saying that how Krishna showed four-armed and then two-armed. Then Arjuna is like, then Sanjay is saying that when Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, what did Arjuna say? Where he said, oh, Janardhan, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful. It's so amazing. He's so relieved. So I'm now composed in mind. I'm restored to my original nature. Now I can finally relate to this. Thank you for showing this. He's like expressing that. And then now we see how Krishna is going to speak about the rarity of the form that he is actually showing. So once I cover the verses, then we will go into the extra additional insights like the questions that Sundaranand Prabhu mentioned. We'll go there after just completing these verses. So Krishna is saying that how, my dear Arjuna, this form of mine you're now seeing is very difficult to behold. It's very rare. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. So even they long, the demigods long for such vision, but even they don't get it. So I see the demigods have this prayer somewhere. I'm not able to recollect that they also say, oh, we would like to see this wonderful form of you. And then Krishna is explaining that how he cannot be understood merely by Vedic study or penances or charity or worship. Nothing is mechanical about this vision. Because even when Krishna was present in his two-armed form, people just could not understand him. What to speak of, we see there are so many kinds of people who did not understand Krishna when he was there. It's not just demons like Kamsa or Putana or like all these other demons. Even somebody great like the Yogic Brahmanas, they could not understand Krishna's form as very spiritual. So Krishna shows that. They had Vedic study, they were performed, but still they could not understand. They did so many others like did penances, but they could not understand exactly who Krishna is. There were people like Jarasandha was very charitable. Jarasandha was very charitable. He did perform penances and achieved some boons. He was very good administrator. They followed Vedic customs and rules, despite knowing that Bhima and Arjuna, they seemed like Kshatriyas by their bodily features, but they are dressed as Brahmanas. He tells them, I see by your bodily features you cannot be Brahmanas. But because you are dressed as a Brahmana, I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt and let you have whatever you want. Ask me what you want. So he was very charitable, followed rules. And there were people who also worshipped Krishna, like worshipped God, Vishnu, but they couldn't understand when Krishna was manifested before them. So that's why he's saying it's not just by any kind of, they may be very good in demigod worship in general, very religious, but it's not that by any of these means that one can see me as I am. Krishna, they cannot shakya, they cannot actually be able, it's not possible for them to see just because of their material qualifications. But he says, what is the qualification then? Who can see you? So then he says in this famous verse in 54, he says, yes, Vedairna tapasa na danena na chayijaya shakyam. But bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya. When you have exclusive devotional service, ananya bhakti, so then you are shakya. Ahameva vidorjuna. So then you can actually understand me. Gyatum drashtum cha tatvena. You can actually know me. You can not just know me, you can see me. Praveshtum tatum cha praveshtum cha parantapa. Like you can enter into that mysteries of my form and understanding me only by undivided devotional. So very beautiful verses. And also this fifth verse where you see Prabhupada writes a huge purport for verse 54 and also 55. Very crucial verses. He says, my dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, matka, that is his pure devotional service, mat paramaha, free from contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, mat paramo, who is friendly to every living being, mad bhaktaha sangavarjitaha, nirvairaha sarvabhuteshu yasaha mam yeti pandava. So we can see it's not about we are devoted to Krishna and then we don't behave properly with other living entities. So Madbhakta Sangavarjitahan, Nirvaira means he is not having any enemy. So as Krishna Prabhu asked, why is this universal form being shown? If it is shown to actually inspire Arjuna to fight, then why in the conclusion Krishna is saying you can my devotee does not have an enemy? So imagine you cannot have an enemy, but you have to fight the war against your enemies. So Krishna wants him to fight, but the consciousness that Krishna recommends is not to see one as an enemy or a friend. Because if that was the case, Krishna could have easily convinced Arjuna by just quoting all the atrocities committed by the Kauravas unto the Pandavas. His wife was disrobed. They were actually so many times attempted murder was attempted on them. They were tried to be poisoned and arson, all kinds of things, cheating, everything was perpetrated. So Krishna could have just listed the whole, he could have given a recap of all the atrocities attempted by or done by the Kauravas unto the Pandavas. No, nowhere in the Gita he does that, because he is not wanting Arjuna to just fight on a lower level of consciousness. He wants him to raise his consciousness. The external action may still, depending on, because of this external situation, it may be war externally, but internally, Krishna does not want him to fight because of enmity. He wants to be a divine instrument. So that's what we are going to now discuss, what it means to becoming an instrument and which form is better. These are the two topics we will dwell on after we come. So that's why. Is Krishna inciting Arjuna to violence by showing the universal form? That's what we are going to do a character analysis of Krishna. What is his motivation? Why is he doing that? So what does it mean to become an instrument for the divine? So acting as an instrument of God means to act according to his will. Whatever is Krishna wants, be it fighting, killing, or be it forgiving, whatever is the will that Krishna wants us to, free from our own personal agenda, we do it. But again, how do I know what is the will? Because it requires surrender, alignment, and detachment from selfish motives. It's not an overnight thing. That's why we have guru and mentors to help us understand.
Guru Sharana Prabhu, I think your slides are out.
Religious groups, they may consider.
Oh, okay. May I suggest maybe dropping off video to decrease the bandwidth?
What do you call the video? The slides?
No, if we drop off our video, we might be able to help.
Oh, okay, then yes, please.
And maybe Guru Sharana Prabhu as well.
Okay, I can switch my video off also. So was my voice like too much breaking? Should I repeat for some time?
Yes, yes. Repeat when you
From-
got to this slide, because we couldn't see the slide initially either.
Okay, that's great. So we are discussing about this particular thing, that what it means to becoming an instrument of the divine. So to become an instrument of the divine means to act according to his will, free from personal agenda. And because to know what is his will actually requires surrender. It's not very easy. It needs complete alignment with the will of God and detachment from selfish motivations. So that's why we do have guru and mentors and other devotees to help us understand sometimes when we are unclear. Because sometimes we see people in the name of religion can wage wars, can resort to violence, because they may have a simplistic understanding. But there is no instance of in this world that quoting Gita somebody has actually waged a war. Rather, Gandhi ran a non-violent movement in the name of Gita. So Krishna is not inciting violence by this war setting. That's what we are trying to understand, that Krishna reveals his Kala Rupa, the form of the time, the universal form, to show that events are already defined. He's calling Arjuna to participate not out of personal hatred, but to fulfill a divine purpose. He's saying, whether you participate or not, time is going to destroy everybody. So rise above, become an instrument. Keep aside your personal hatred, attachment, or aversion, everything. You don't need to fight because you hate them, nor do you have to not fight because you are attached to them. Leave aside your hatred and leave aside your attachments also. Just become an instrument. So, like a doctor, when he picks up a knife, does not have a brain of its own. Oh, how can I cut? Okay. Oh my God. I think my room is having an electric trip, but I do have enough.
I'm so sorry, Prabhu.
Can
That
you
was
all hear
me.
me,
I
see
was,
me,
yes,
or
we can hear and see you. That was
see
me.
the
I was
slide?
basement and I'm just trying to find the light switch and I accidentally hit something. Sorry. That was me actually.
Thank you. Yeah, I never experienced power trip, so I was like, oh my God, I'll be screwed. I have continuous classes. That's great. So here we are seeing that how Krishna is like inspiring Arjuna. Don't participate out of hatred. Don't refrain out of attachment. Just be an instrument, like how the knife of a doctor does not have its own brain. It acts according to the will of the doctor. Similarly, we remove our personal agendas, motivations. That's the idea. And he's commanding Arjuna to be free from animosity. That's why he's saying nirvaira in verse 55. And he's saying hatred stems from personal ego and attachment, but divine service must be beyond personal grudges. So what he is calling Arjuna to do is a divine will, because God has no animosity. Krishna is not harboring any enmity because he said, I'm equal to everyone. He's a supreme wisher. And he also said in 9 point that how he is samoham sarva bhuteshu. He is equal towards everyone. He does not hate anyone. Tame dveshyo asti na paraha. I don't hate anyone. There is no animosity in my heart. We are all his children. So acting on his behalf means embodying the same universal goodwill. That if it is necessary in the role of greater goodwill for the society, even if it means to fight a war, a devotee might have to do that. Only in the if it is personally ordained, of course. So that we see Srila Prabhupada also waged a war against the material consciousness. So he did not sit back and see, okay, there is a flow of time, Kali, so everything is going to deteriorate. No, he said, okay, Parikshit tried. So Srila Prabhupada was a modern Parikshit. He is actually stopping the flow of time of anyone's life. The influence of Kali, of all the people who are taking shelter of his instructions. We are all, when we are in the boat of Srila Prabhupada's instructions, what are we doing? We are actually defying the flow of Kali Yuga in our own personal lives. So for the universal goodwill, a devotee actually acts and for the benefit of everyone. Is my internet?
Yes, we can't hear you.
Yeah, you're a
Please
little spotty, but I think if you had your
hear
camera on,
me?
we could at least tell that you're talking or not talking.
Yes.
Okay, your voice is breaking.
Could be that where you're at, the internet connection isn't so good, Prabhu. Probably, I don't know if you have access to some other kind of hotspot or something.
Maybe your hotspot on your phone, if you have that.
I promise this one is not me. There's nothing else going on in the basement.
I think we have lost Garsha and Prabhu.
He's suggesting, he put it on the group. He's suggesting that everyone join next week and we continue the session then.
Okay, great. Wonderful.
It's already past 7, guys.
Thank you. Very well.